There's two types of people in the world. People who, when Elon Musk on X posts, your Tesla car will earn you money, understand and believe, and those who either don't understand and or don't believe. On Tesla's recent company update / earnings call, they once again reiterated that they will be operating autonomous vehicles in Austin, Texas, in the United States, in June this year. This will be the most significant shift in the company's history and will, over time, open the floodgates for absolutely absurd financial returns. Tesla's ultra long-term investment in autonomy, covering their vehicles in cameras years ago at an expense, collecting data, pursuing a generalized solution to autonomy when the rest of the industry, oh no, you need LiDAR, blah, blah, blah. Rest in peace, by the way, Tesla's autonomous competition. The payoff from this investment is going to be astronomical. Yet I suspect still today, most investors, especially those with very deep pockets, the big institutions, just don't believe that autonomy is either going to happen, or if it does, that it'll roll out a lot slower than Tesla intends. And by the way, they're going to be very surprised about that. Or Tesla's not going to get a meaningful market share. They're in for a rude awakening. So the official Tesla AI account posts this, a short video and an update. Quote, FSD's supervised ride-hailing service is live for an early set of employees in Austin and the San Francisco Bay Area. We've completed over 1,500 trips and 15,000 miles of driving. This service helps us develop and validate FSD networks, the mobile app, vehicle allocation, mission control, and remote assistance operations. So, to be clear, Tesla's ride-hail app's already operating, not for the public though, but for employees, in 2 cities in the US currently. Sweater connoisseur Chamath Palhapatia posts this. Can confirm FSD is awesome. For the past 2 months in our own car, we now just get in, put in the destination and turn on FSD. It's changed my mood when I drive. More relaxed, less feeling I'm distracted. And this from Alex. Quote, full self-driving is literally the greatest technology I've ever used. Period. I get 2 hours back of brain power every day to focus on my business while my car drives me. You have legit no idea until you use it what a game changer it is. No way I can go back to regular driving. Now, Alex makes an important point here regarding brain power. Everyone has a finite amount of time per day and a finite amount of brain power per day. It's a pretty strong correlation between the two things. Personally, as I've mentioned many times in the past, especially on some of my private Patreon content, by the way, feel free to join. There's over 300 exclusive videos there, plus my Tesla valuation. Check out the link in the description. I will pay what to most people seems like an absolutely astronomical amount of money to save time and or brain power. And on the flip side, I strongly advise anybody listening not to ever rob me of either my time or unnecessary brain cycles, or you will find out. The challenge today is that not everybody can afford to own a Tesla vehicle or subscribe to FSD. But a massive shift is about to happen with Tesla's autonomous vehicles. The biggest cost of transport as a service, which typically makes it meaningfully more expensive than personally owning a vehicle, is you have to pay a driver. If there's no driver, if it's an autonomous vehicle, the cost per mile is going to plunge and ultimately will become more affordable to use transport as a service than to own your own vehicle. But these are not like-for-like products, not like-for-like services. Because if you own your own vehicle, you need to use your brain to drive your own vehicle. If you're in a Robotaxi, your brain is free to do whatever the fuck you want. These two factors, more affordable than personal vehicle ownership over time, and the massive, massive upside of freeing up your mind, your attention, ensures a massive disruption is around the corner. Yet people widely today still just don't really believe this is going to happen. And even those who do believe it's going to happen, the regulators, it's going to be, how do they get approval from the regulators? Hey, good question. Wait, what's this? From Secretary Sean Duffy, the 20th Secretary of the US Department of Transport, serving under the leadership of President Trump, posts this. From the Wright brothers to the first astronauts on the moon, our nation has always been at the forefront of transportation technology. That's why today we're unveiling a new automated vehicle framework from US.'s innovation agenda. Imagine my shock. Let's listen to this short clip.
America is in the middle of an innovation race with China, and the stakes couldn't be higher. That's why we're unveiling a new automated vehicle framework as part of our DOT's innovation agenda. Now, this framework, it has 3 key components. Number 1, prioritize safety. Number 2, unleash innovation. And number 3, enable commercial deployment. So we're announcing 2 initial steps in this framework today. First, when it comes to safety, we've heard from industry partners the crash reporting requirements for automated vehicles, it's way too expensive, way too costly. But these reports help DOT monitor road safety. So to balance these concerns, We've streamlined the process in AV crash reporting to sharpen the data while removing the redundancies. We'll have much more to share on this in the coming months. The long-term goal here is to move us closer to a single national standard. We don't want 50 states with 50 standards. We want one national standard for AVs. Second, we're cutting the unnecessary red tape. Right now, vehicles made outside the country qualify for a quick exemption process. Meanwhile, AVs made right here in America have to deal with a stringent permitting process. This makes zero sense. Under this administration, we put America first. We've now fixed this by expanding the AV exemption program so domestic vehicles, they're included. This will encourage innovation right here at home. America has always been the home of innovators, from the Wright brothers to the first astronauts on the moon. Our nation has always been at the cutting edge of transportation technology. Innovation is one of my top priorities, and I can't wait to share more about how the DOT is bringing about the golden age of transportation.
This announcement should shock approximately 0 people who understand the agenda of the current Trump administration, and the timing could not be more perfect. Tesla are about to begin scaling their Robotaxi fleet. At first, a dozen vehicles, give or take, in Austin. But as soon as Tesla themselves are confident with the safety profile and the capability, they'll scale rapidly from there. And a national framework is going to be brilliant. In short, if Tesla can get approval once, they've got approval, period. As opposed to having to seek approval in 50 independent states, which would be an absolute fucking nightmare. Now, I just wanted to take a quick visual detour. This on screen now, Tesla Cybercab, entering production at least in reasonable volume next year. But prior to then, a number of Tesla Model Ys, via a software update, will be driving customers, passengers from point A to point B in Austin, Texas and other US cities before year's end, paving the way for these Cybercabs to hit volume production and flood the US and beyond. These vehicles will be put on roads for approximately 1/5 the price of these beautiful supposed competing autonomous vehicles from folks like Waymo. I mean, my God, dude. You know, sometimes you can judge a book by its cover. I think people, honestly, just look at the difference here, the contrast. If you don't know anything about engineering or manufacturing costs, you look at these two things, which in essence will have a comparable capability, you almost get the impression that the company putting this Waymo vehicle on roads just doesn't quite have what they need to make it over the long term. Yikes. The side-by-side really drives this point home. No pun intended. And of course, the skeptics will say, well, that's just the United States because of Orange Man bad. What about everywhere else on Earth? Today, Tesla just secured a 2-year exemption to run FSD Supervised on public roads in Norway. I saw this great reflection on X. Reading all those FUD stories about the future of Tesla FSD and autonomy reminds me of all the skepticism surrounding the 2007 iPhone launch. So let's read this, published March 28, 2007. The hype over the unreleased iPhone has actually increased over the past month, despite the fact that nobody has seen or used the device. We're noticing any parallels already? Well, Tesla doesn't even have robotaxis yet. How do we know that it's going to scale widely and rapidly and they have an unassailable data lead? This, if nothing else, proves the power of branding and especially the power of brand loyalty. Or in the case of Tesla, deluded retail investors who think Tesla's got a massive point of difference with their autonomous software. It's the loyalists who keep promoting this device as if it's going to be anything other than another phone in a crowded market. God, the parallels, folks. How many times have I heard somebody claiming that there's going to be a lot of competition when it comes to autonomy? That the so-called competition is well ahead of Tesla, from people who don't understand the point of difference with Tesla's technology. Tell you what, history doesn't repeat, but it sure does rhyme. And it's exactly the crowded market aspect of this that analysts seem to be ignoring. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit in this article, get to some more of the juicy and relevant nuggets. They talk about Apple launching the iPod, advertising and selling a fuckload, the iTunes store being very successful. And now compare that effort and overlay the mobile handset business. This is not an emerging business. In fact, it's gone so far that it's in the process of consolidation with probably 2 players dominating everything, Nokia and Motorola, blah, 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 blah. Wait, hang on. So did they just say that Apple's late to the party with phones and there's already some massive established players? It's a mature market, there's not a great deal of opportunity, there's lots of competition. Kind of sounds familiar. Well, we're going down the rabbit hole. This from 1999. Nokia market cap overtakes BP, number 1 in Europe. The world's biggest mobile phone maker, Nokia, on Tuesday added over 8% to a remarkable 1999 bull run and overtook BP as Europe's top company by market cap. Market cap hit 203 billion euros. And by the way, that's in 1999 euros, showing that mobile internet is where investors see the future. Is there a lesson here, folks? Yes, the lesson is it is actually possible for a company to have a compelling piece of technology, unique, novel, and offering exceptional value, to seemingly come out of nowhere or arrive possibly, quote, late to the party, and then go on to utterly dominate said market. I hear a lot of I was going to say it, low IQ arguments from people regarding Tesla robotaxis. And I do mean low IQ as in like small brain, as in not very good at understanding the moving parts here. So I'll explain. They see a snapshot in time, a snapshot in which today, Waymo, for example, has a number of vehicles on roads, doing a lot of trips in a couple of very small locations in the US. And they see Tesla, who currently have 0 vehicles operating autonomously, and think, Waymo already has a massive lead. They're well ahead of Tesla in terms of autonomy. The end. That's as far as the thinking goes. That's as deep as the thinking goes, if you can even call it thinking. They fail to recognize that in order for Waymo to put a single Waymo vehicle on roads, they have to pay another company to manufacture the vehicle. Said company doesn't do this for free. They want a profit. Cost, by the way, roughly 5 times what it's going to cost Tesla to put a Cybercab on roads. Awkward. They also need to have pre-mapped the area in which this Waymo vehicle will operate in high definition, basically bouncing a laser off every square inch of every road that the vehicle will be on, just to make sure that if anything changes between the pre-mapped area and when the vehicle's operating, they can panic and pull over and ask Daddy to come help. They've got a geofence. There's a huge amount of overhead. And in order for a Waymo vehicle, at 5 times the cost of what Tesla will be able to put a Cybercab on roads for, to operate anywhere, it essentially needs to learn to drive in that area before it's deployed. A Waymo vehicle doesn't have a general form of intelligence. It hasn't learned how to drive. It's been trained how to operate in a specific region. It's reliant upon expensive sensors. Meanwhile, Tesla have developed a generalized driving solution. And we've seen great examples of this recently, although I've been saying it for a lot longer than we've seen the examples. Tesla, out of absolutely nowhere, releases FSD in China without local training. Well, how'd that happen? Oh, because the vehicle knows how to drive. Good luck with Waymo doing that. Because Tesla has a generalized solution and their vehicles know how to drive, period, the speed at which they will be able to deploy a software update into existing vehicles on roads, as opposed to having to pay somebody else and have to do all the pre-mapping, blah, 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 will shock most so-called experts. And this is the most important point to understand. There are no other companies, either today offering autonomous rides or in the future intending on offering autonomous rides, who have A, scale, a fleet of millions of existing vehicles, B, expertise in manufacturing vehicles at a low cost, and C, a generalized solution to autonomy, e.g., a vehicle that knows how to drive, period, as opposed to having been trained how to operate in a small little pre-mapped region. This means that when Tesla are confident with the capability of their software, after launching initially in Austin with literally a dozen robotaxis, Model Ys with a software update, Tesla can, with the press of a button, literally enable autonomy in other vehicles that are already on roads in other pockets of the US, and then more broadly. To make the most extreme example that even a dimwit could probably understand is, let's just say that hypothetically tomorrow Tesla themselves were confident that their software was capable of safely driving people anywhere on Earth. They could, in theory, press a button and suddenly there'd be about 7 million vehicles across the planet capable of autonomous driving. To add some further context, obviously, this is not how things will roll out, but it's an extreme example to illustrate the point so that even a dumb motherfucker could understand it. If Tesla was seeking to have a literal 100% market share of all ride hail, including disrupting taxis, Lyft, Uber, everything, in a city of approximately 1 million people, they'd need to put roughly, just really rough numbers, roughly 10,000 autonomous vehicles on roads in that city. Easy numbers, right? 10,000 vehicles per million people. Now, you could argue it could be as high as 15 or even lower, but nice round number. Can somebody remind me, let's just say, how many vehicles does Tesla, the company, today produce in a week? Because obviously all of the vehicles they're producing today could, in theory, operate as a robotaxi with a software update. And spoiler alert, Tesla produces roughly 35,000 vehicles per week globally today. So surely, even if you have an extremely small brain, you can at least understand the argument here. You don't have to believe that Tesla has a generalized solution or that they could scale rapidly. But if you assume that these things are true, spoiler alert, they are, you can at least understand the argument that I'm making here, which is Tesla is unique as a company in that it has massive scale of high volume vehicle production, a huge cost advantage in terms of actually putting a vehicle on roads that can operate autonomously. And importantly, most important of all, they have a unique generalized solution, meaning they will be able to scale extremely rapidly with over-the-air software updates, leapfrogging from seemingly not operating any autonomous vehicles at all and being so far behind Waymo, to having thousands, then tens of thousands, then millions of autonomous vehicles on roads almost overnight. Now, clearly most investors don't think this is going to happen. Of course it will, but That's okay. What I seem to hear most often from supposedly intelligent investors is an admission that they don't believe that Tesla has created a somewhat unique solution, nor do they seem to understand the value in having a general solution to autonomy, e.g. the car knows how to drive, period, as opposed to a very narrow and brittle solution where you have to pre-map in HD. In other words, they don't understand that Tesla has software that can scale almost infinitely, almost overnight, and no other company does, and how important this is. They don't understand the implications. I want to wrap up by saying you don't have to believe my conclusions. You can think for yourself and draw your own conclusions, but I really do encourage people to at least understand the argument I'm making here. In short, Tesla can put the hardware on roads for a fraction the cost of any other company. That alone over the long term means that Tesla can price per mile way lower than anyone else, meaning they're all fucked. You can't compete with Tesla on cost per mile, and Tesla drives cost per mile down because it's directly in line with their mission of accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy. You go out of business. But put that to the side, because that alone, while it's make or break, isn't the biggest point. The biggest point is that Tesla has a generalized solution to autonomy, and no other company trying to solve autonomy does, meaning Tesla can scale massively and rapidly, almost overnight. It boggles the mind that folks don't seem to understand this. I think most folks at this point are sitting on the sidelines with the "I'll believe it when I see it" mindset, as opposed to, hang on, let me try to see it by thinking about the implications and analysing the situation and understanding the distinction between what Tesla's doing, how they're positioned versus everyone else in the marketplace, and try to anticipate where things are headed. Personally, I've been buying Tesla stock hand over fist before we, quote, see it, as opposed to chasing once we do see it. But hey, that's just me. You do you. Want more content? Early access? Bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 is awesome. I've been taking it daily now for more than 3 years. It's a great way to fill in nutritional gaps. It's packed full of vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients, plus has prebiotics, probiotics, and adaptogens to improve gut health, regularity, and help your body handle stress. I'm always looking for an edge to help me feel and perform my best, which is why I haven't missed a day of AG1 for more than 3 years. Just try it and see how you feel. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs.